This is Jasper.
And this is Randy.
All right, so we watched Kill Bill Volume 1 from 2003. After awakening from a 4-year coma, a former assassin wreaks vengeance on the team of assassins who betrayed her.
Okay.
This is directed by Quentin Tarantino. Writers are Quentin Tarantino and Quentin Tarantino, apparently.
Was it listed twice?
Yeah, I don't know why. Quentin Tarantino and Uma Thurman. Okay.
As the writers?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
This is what it says. It says Quentin Tarantino, written by Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino character, the bride is Q, and then Uma Thurman character, the bride is U. That's weird. I've never seen it. Is yours?
What?
Does your website say?
That's really weird. What are you on?
IMDb.
TheMovieDB.org just says Quentin Tarantino characters, director, writer. Oh, and it gives Uma Thurman a characters. Interesting. So she got a credit for an aspect of the bride?
Yeah, well, because apparently they, and according to the trivia, they came up with this during
Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
And they said that they wanted to make a movie like this, but together.
Interesting.
So she helped create it, but I think he wrote it because he had the
It did say, I did notice a weird credit, something about based on characters by QU. So is that Quentin Uma?
And Quentin. And
Oh, okay.
That was also in the trivia.
Weird.
But yeah, they came up with it, and then she helped. The opening scene was her idea, where the bride is beat up and then shot.
Okay.
So stars Uma Thurman as the bride, Lucy Liu as Oren Ishii, Vivica A. Fox as Vernita Green, Daryl Hannah as Ellie Driver, David Carradine as Bill, Michael Madsen as Bud, and Julie Dreyfus as Sophie Fatale.
So we get no Bill face and very little Michael Madsen in this. Okay, Kill Bill. Really, this movie is kind of essentially the reason we're doing season Tarantino. The reason we're doing Tarantino movies this season, because it all started with Jasper'd never seen Kill Bill. And then evolved to Jasper'd never seen Pulp Fiction, and so on. And now we're like, well, we're going to watch them all. We're going to watch them all. So I've seen Kill Bill many times. I seen Kill Bill Volume 1 in the theater. Initial reactions then, I was a little disappointed. Upon this rewatch, no, this is totally entertaining. But what about you? You'd heard of this, obviously, but you'd never seen this before?
No, so weirdly, 2003, I'd have been 14.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I was out of high school already. It's weird when you put it that way.
I'd been 15. Holy crap. So at that age, for some reason, that was still a movie not for me.
Okay.
My older brother watched it. His friend Bobby watched it. This was a big movie with them, but I was never allowed to watch it until by the time that I could watch it, it was just out of my mind space. But I've always heard of the movie. Always heard lines. I've always heard how this is like one of Uma Thurman's best movies. But yeah.
Okay. So it's safe to say there's a lot of hype on this for you?
Yeah.
Did it live up to the hype?
For me, yeah, I did.
Okay.
I really liked the style. I really liked the cinematography, how they kind of, again, like I said, like the last one was the blood spraying, but how much they stayed to realism with it.
Okay. I find, in terms of the blood, this movie, I mean, it's Tarantino, so he'll do this. Look at Django. We'll talk about Django later, obviously. But there's moments where the violence is very realistic, the blood is realistic, it's brutal, gross. And then there's moments where it's garden hose blood, where it's cut a head off or an arm off, and it's just a 20-foot spray of thin, I'm assuming red, I don't know, the movie was censored in America, and spray into the air for like 15 seconds. So it's a little bit of all of it in that respect. I don't know why I was initially disappointed with this movie, because like watching it now, this is exactly the kind of movie I'm into. Like, it's a vengeance movie, ridiculous. It's it's got most of the samurai conventions, the tropes and stuff like that. You know, it's got a whole section dedicated to just going to get a special sword made for her. You know, Toro Hanzo's sword. But I'm not sure what I was expecting at the time. But yeah, no, this rewatch, again, I've seen it several times since, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed watching it because I did watch Lady Snowblood before rewatching this. I've never watched them so close together, so I could kind of compare. And I mean, yeah, there's some of the shots are definitely, I mean, the premise, and other movies have done the same premise, of course, but the premise of there's four, five people she's after. I guess 4, whatever. No, in Kill Bill, it's definitely 5.
Yeah, it's 5.
And it'll keep cutting to them the four of them or so, because Bill isn't in that shot, standing over her, looking at her. And Lady Snowblood does the same thing with the 4 people standing there. And in fact, there's parts in Lady Snowblood where it's just missing the sound, like that alarm sound that Tarantino pulled from, I can't remember what movie offhand, but anytime Kill Bill, anytime she sees one of the people that she's after, it does that kind of 70s zoom, except it's not so shaky. It does that 70s zoom to the eyes, and you get that like alarm sound, right? Lady Snowblood has several of those moments. It just doesn't have the alarm sound. And rewatching that with Melanie, I looked over and I was like, it's just missing that sound. That right there, that's where that sound goes. It's fun. It's Tarantino, this movie, it's Tarantino, so it's still got that mixture of, man, he loves, because I've been searching up Tarantino movies, and probably because Google listens to everything we say, lots of YouTube, lots of Tarantino interviews and stuff have been popping up on YouTube and stuff for me. So I've been watching a few of them. And he's even said, like, that's a big part of why he likes making movies. There's a lot of contradictory stuff in here that makes you, there's a lot of stuff that, like, one scene, it's supposed to be like rah fun, and then another scene, it's supposed to make you feel like just gross and filthy and dirty and not good. And it's intentional, and he intentionally puts that stuff and like weaves that stuff together because he likes to manipulate the audience. And there's a bit of that. There's the scene, you know, where she was in a coma for a long time, and there's the Vaseline and the, you know, my name's
that
Buck.
bottle of Vaseline, dude,
right?
That thing was nasty.
That whole scene. The speech, that guy's talk with the guy that popped up in Death Proof, the Billy Madison guy, not the Billy Madison guy, but the guy that popped up, used to be in the Adam Sandler movies with the voice, he's in this. He's the guy that's, you know, buy some time with unconscious Uma, or the unconscious bride, I should say. It makes it real creepy when I used her actress name. But that scene is so weird because it's definitely supposed to be skeevy, skeeve you out, be gross. But also it feels like it's played for laughs in a way. That Vaseline thing, it's so gross, but at the same time, it's like over the top where it's supposed to kind of be funny, I think. I don't know. Like, it's so weird. But then, you know, the whole last section of the movie is all like, it's violent, but it's all fun. It's all for fun. And the moment where she's like, you know, you leave your limbs here. They belong to me. Like, it's so ridiculous and over the top, but it's supposed to be fun. And it is. So I don't know. It's interesting, that mixture. I feel like this movie probably like leans more towards trying to be more fun than make you feel bad. Yeah. Most of the time. So it's definitely more popcorn movie than some of his earlier stuff. There's like kind of a larger message in a way to like Pulp Fiction and maybe even Reservoir Dogs, although probably not. But we had Mike Wood from Grind Bin Podcast on last episode, and he was saying that he felt like Tarantino's later movies, he just straight up embraced genre movie. It's like, I'm going to do a samurai movie. I'm going to do a Western. I'm going to do this, like just straight. And I can, even though Death Proof comes after Kill Bill, I kind of definitely feel that with Kill Bill a little bit, where it's just like straight, I just want to do this genre. I'm sorry, I've been talking for a while. You talk.
No, I was enjoying your talk.
I don't know where it was. Jasper, I was just going. Listener, I was just going. I don't know if I had direction, so let me recenter myself. You talk for a bit.
No, so what I liked about this movie was like, so the whole first, so she's unconscious, she's in the hospital, and I kind of like David Carradine, like, you know, as Bill is talking nice and slowly
on the phone.
Yeah. And that lady, it cuts back to that lady, and she's like, it's like she is going insane. And she's like, okay, then, but he's like, yeah, we're not, because she wants to inject her with something. And he's like, we're not going to do that. We're going to let her basically come after us,
They almost had her too. Like, I mean, she was there. That would have been.
And credits.
Yep.
But I really like how it started out. And so when she goes to, was her nickname Copperhead's house? The First Lady Vivica A. Fox's house? I want to say it's Copperhead.
To Vivica A. Fox, yeah.
Yeah. When she pulls that gun on her and shoots her, and the cereal box says kaboom on it.
Did it? I didn't even notice it said kaboom.
Yeah. I guess it was a Quentin Tarantino trademark, but I caught it when I first saw it. I was like, that's hilarious.
I didn't catch that. That's great.
Yeah. Just like that, and then the whole fight scene in the house, and then that kid's there, and she kind of just tells that kid basically to come after her later in life.
I really like that, and that feels the most like part 3. There's the setup.
Mm-hmm. The whole first part of this movie is just kind of weird. It's like, it's a Tarantino movie right there. When she's sitting in the back of Buck's truck and she's like, just wiggle your big toe.
And I like that they use that moment to like, okay, now we're going to go to a flashback. Did they do the training flashback during that scene?
I think so.
Yeah. Got to have that training flashback with the old master or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What was the flashback? It doesn't matter.
But yeah, she's just sitting in the back chair, wiggle your. Now the big part. Now the worst part's over. She's like, trying to center herself and get her motor skills and stuff back up.
2 things. One, I'm not going to give this a sound effect, but if we had a sound effect for like, word of the day, it'd go off now. Tarantino foot shot of the day. Every Tarantino movie.
That's how I was like,
every
was there a foot
Tarantino
shot? And I was like, never mind, there was.
Yeah. He loves them, dude. He loves them. At least there's the context for it in this one,
Mm-hmm.
I do like that scene. It seems like she probably sat in there all overnight trying to get her toes to work. And there's jumps in time. So between that happening and when she shows up at Vivica A. Fox's character's house, she's still got the truck, but who knows how much time is there.
Mm.
It is quite unrealistic that she like basically is able to will all the atrophy out of her body overnight.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. Listen, that's not the end of the unrealistic stuff with the series of movies. So the movie in general is real bright and colorful, but that first scene, the truck, the outside, the suburban area, everything in the house, it's so bright and colorful and super saturated. It's kind of amazing. It doesn't look like anything else Tarantino shot, at least, especially up to that point, to where it's almost like kids programming colorful. You know what I mean? Mm. It's so extreme, and it's an interesting juxtaposition because leading into that, the first scene I believe is the beat up Uma face, right? With Bill's little speech about him, this is me being my most masochistic or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the black and white is how they wanted it or if that's a censorship issue, because we'll get into that too.
They said in the trivia it was a censorship issue.
Okay.
For the MPAA.
I hate the black and white later. I hate it. Like, seriously? You have to censor. It's the garden hose blood. Is that what you have to censor? It's ridiculous. It's the most unrealistic blood in the world. However, and I also hate that they had to censor it here, but I think it looks good here because they went super high contrast, black and white then, and it just makes it look even more filthy. And she looks terrible, and he's like, probably fry an egg on your forehead, and like, it looks like it. That opening scene is brutal. And so as it is, the censored version, you go from that really gross, high contrast black and white to boom, Disney World colors in your face. Like, it's insane. Right. So that's pretty interesting. And, the scenes vary for how colorful they are, but there's strong color throughout the whole movie. Like, it's very stylized in that respect. And I like it because it doesn't look like there's a lot of aspects to this movie that are that are basically like a whole lot of other movies, but are unlike anything Tarantino had done at that point. And I think since, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but particularly now when I think of Tarantino, I don't think of quick cut action scenes and stuff like that. Like, he'll do gunshot stuff, even quick action gunshot where, it's just an explosion of violence and it's all very fast and jarring. But there's not a lot of like straight up ongoing action scenes, fight scenes. And I don't think of quick camera movements when I think Tarantino filmmaking. But like that final fight not the final fight, but the final fight with the Crazy 88, and it just keeps going on and on. Like, that fight scene is so good. Like, it's done so well, and there's so much. The camera's moving around, the sound design. I'm not a fan of any of the music during that part, but the sound design is awesome and very, very stylized. Parts of it felt very like Sam Raimi to me in a way. It's just the way the sounds are and the quick cuts and the close up to somebody's head as they're like just flying through the air, and it's just like very kinetic filmmaking, and I don't know, definitely appreciate that aspect of it. Basically, he's just good at whatever he wants to do. It's irritating. He's irritatingly good at everything he wants to do. Except maybe acting.
Yes.
Ooh, I don't think he was in this anywhere. Maybe the first one with no Tarantino.
So my thing with this was the cinematography, and especially the Crazy 88 fight. Like, God, I was laughing so hard when you hear like the bowling pins when she flips
right.
go over.
Tarantino movies will commonly go. That's what I mean. Tarantino movies, he'll go over the top and ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But he did things that felt uncharacteristic for his filmmaking. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bowling pin sounds when she knocks over a bunch of it goes ridiculously over the top.
Right.
Sorry, continue.
I was also kind of laughing in the trivia that I guess when Go-Go uses the mace, she was supposed to throw it past the camera, and she actually hit Quentin Tarantino on the head with it. So,
really?
Yeah. I feel like the fight was a lot of the movie, the Crazy 88 fight, and then the fight with Go-Go. It was just so weird, like how it looks like she's basically fighting a kid. But like I said, I like the way that Uma was. I feel like she really practiced for this role because she did all she's very fluid in her
fighting
swords.
looked good.
Yeah.
See, unlike what I was saying with Lady Snowblood, to where the actress was good, but she wasn't really selling some of those moves. Mm-hmm. Seems like she was struggling a little bit. Uma nails it. And at times, this is where we talked about it last episode, the lady who played Zoe in Death Proof was Uma's she's an actual stunt person, and she was Uma's stunt double in this. So, sometimes it's Uma, I'm sure sometimes it's her. But either way, they were both selling the moves to me.
Right. Yeah. So, I love the man from Okinawa part. I think it was part, 2 or chapter 2. What does he say? I'm not bald, I showed you. He's like, do you understand?
That weird bit of comedy where there's where these characters are kind of like a comedic duo out of nowhere. But it is funny. It works. And that even feels out of place with the rest. It doesn't feel out of place, but that's unlike any other part of. This is part of what Tarantino's so good at. That character, it turns out the one guy's Hanzo Hattori, and he's not in it a whole lot. And why is he a part of a comedy duo for a moment before it turns out like she knows who he actually is? But Tarantino's good at these little bit characters where you're just like, I would watch that movie. I want to see those guys. What's their deal?
Right.
What's their history? It was fun.
When he makes a sword, they get all serious.
The
guy that was bickering with him is holding the sheath and very ceremoniously giving her the sword. But that was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
My major complaint with that section of the movie is maybe dial it back a little bit with the almost romance or the soothing love music while she's looking at all the swords. It's we get it. We don't need literal sword porn right now.
Especially when she's like, oh, can I touch it? And he's like, you may.
Yeah, I get it. In terms of a samurai movie, the swords are the fetish object, right? But maybe dial it back a little bit. Come on. Or shorten it up. I don't know. And again, Tarantino's just good at crafting interesting scenes. That first encounter with Vivica A. Fox, where you mentioned the cereal box and all that, just that whole setup is great. They wreck the house, and then the daughter comes home. And the look that Vivica A. Fox gives Uma Thurman, their little conversation where they're like, okay, do we want some coffee? Okay. So they're going to stop the fight and have some coffee or whatever and kind of call a truce. And then it leads up to the cereal box. And I just like all that. All that setup is great. I'm kind of conflicted on Uma's performance in terms of dialogue. I get it. It's even the dialogue is kind of stylized and delivered a very specific way. I just don't know if I buy all of it. In terms of the delivery, Uma Thurman's good. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not supposed to sound natural, like a way a person naturally speaks. I don't know. Some of the dialogue is a bit much, like over the top. It's too it's a vengeance movie dialogue. Like the actual dialogue itself is fine. It's just the delivery of it's very serious. It feels like they're delivering it like you would deliver it if you were in an actual samurai movie, but it's modern day, not Japanese. Like it just seems weird, and it doesn't always work for me. That's probably for me maybe the weakest part of it. Highlights for me: that first fight scene, the nurse sequence with the music. Mm-hmm. Again, I wish I should have wrote down what all these cues are. They're all known. They're all taken from known shows. I love it. I love the song that plays. The whistle, when the whistling, when that's such a good sequence. And then even after, okay, so the buck, I'm here to whatever, that whole thing.
I'm here to truck.
That sets up, like that whole thing is awesome because it leads to that slow pan to where it's not even actual slow motion. It's like kind of jerky because it's like they didn't shoot increased frame rate. It's just kind of pan down to her on the ground with the knife before she cuts his Achilles and then he falls over. But the build up with that music, and again, I wish I knew the song, but I actually looked that up. That's from a Italian giallo movie. Love it. So good, that song. That stuff is awesome. I actually really liked the Crazy 88 fight more this time. Also, it goes on for way longer than I remember.
I love how you heard all the motorcycles pull up.
Because she has a big epic fight scene before they even get there. Mm-hmm. Does she fight the chick with the spinny?
I believe before.
Before. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Crazy 88 didn't even have to be there, and it almost still would have felt fine. But the fact that she fights all these bad guys, then that chick, the mini boss, quote unquote, basically, and then, like, they could have went to Oren. Instead, then 88, roughly, a whole bunch of dudes, like motorcycles come up, dudes pour in, and then you just get an insane fight scene that goes on for quite a while. And then the Oren fight, which is, maybe that's part of my issue, is I appreciate the Oren fight for what it is, but it kind of feels very anticlimactic given the insane action sequences we just got. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I guess that's the point, is like we're going to cap it off with a different kind of fight scene. It's going to be, a much more measured, paced, strategic fight scene. You're going to wait and strike at the right time, as opposed to just waves of dudes and limbs flying and stuff.
Right.
And I could be wrong, but I feel like we've never gotten the uncensored release here, and I'm infinitely irritated by that. I don't like that it goes black and white. I appreciate that Tarantino at least was able to set up a transition for it where she blinks her eyes, but it bugs me.
I think they said, what was it, Japan that got the uncensored version?
Somewhere did. I don't remember where, which is surprising to me that we haven't got it yet. I'm also surprised we haven't got the whole Bloody Affair version, which is the uncut entire volume 1 and 2 full movie the way Tarantino wanted it.
I was about to say the Tarantino version.
I will say, now you haven't seen volume 2 yet. I have watched volume 1 and 2 back to back at least twice over the years. It's a bit much. It's so long. Like, dude, this movie's like 2 hours long, over 2 hours maybe.
And see, that's what's
this
weird.
Is half the movie.
Yeah, what's weird is it didn't feel like that to me because I was like so engaged in it that I was like, man, this movie's good.
Tarantino's just good at that, right? Like, he can make typically what would be kind of the lull portions of movies entertaining.
Right.
He can make an entire movie out of what's usually the lull between action in movies. But this has got, like, there's action scenes, there's stuff, there's plot stuff. It's a whole lot of style. And not to say there's no substance, but it's a whole lot of style. It's just pure style, this movie. And it's okay. I think that works for me.
Right. I think one of the moments that caught me off guard was when she cut Sophie's arm off. I thought she had like stabbed her through the back and she's kind of just holding her there, and then suddenly just whack.
Oh, she's not playing around.
And then rolls her down a hill. That was funny.
So the flashbacks are one thing, but the decision to play the actual revenge murders out in a weird order, in out of order, I don't know if it's necessary. I like how it flows here. I like opening with that bright Vivica Fox scene, but it's a weird choice to show you that she's already, when that scene happens, she's already crossed Wait. She's already crossed somebody off the list.
Yeah, Ishii.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, she has Ishii's name wrote off. That's what I thought was weird about this movie, because she goes to Vivica's first.
That doesn't make any sense. So, like, it's fine if he wants to, like, play these chapters out of order. It's Tarantino. He's going to do that. In Pulp Fiction, I like the non-linear narrative, the structure. In this, it doesn't seem necessary. But also, when I think about it, it doesn't make sense. She's still driving the wagon. Like, does she seriously still have the wagon from when she escaped from the hospital before she killed anyone? Like, so she put that in parking for months on end while she went to Japan?
Yeah. So the same question I was asking myself.
That's never occurred to me. Because since she has the truck, I assumed that was shortly after her getting out of the hospital.
Right.
But if she's already killed
Like,
Oren,
she went straight there.
there's no way. There's at least months and months. She was there at least a month waiting for her sword to get made.
Yeah, so that's a month.
It hadn't really occurred to me before.
That got me, because when she's in the truck, Ishii's name is crossed off, and I was like, but then the ending of the movie is her taking out Ishii. I was like, okay.
It doesn't seem all that necessary to have it out of order.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell your story however you want, Tarantino. I'm not telling him not to do it. It just doesn't seem like as necessary. Like Pulp Fiction kind of feels like that's the way it needs to be watched. You know what I mean? That order. Okay, how about highlights for you? Before we roll into
Crazy 88 fight.
Mm-hmm.
The Ishii fight was really good. I liked that. I liked the set piece there. My thing was it snowing when she went in? I don't remember it snowing.
I don't think so.
I thought
that little courtyard they fight in,
mm-hmm.
I don't think that exists in any reality. Because, again...
Apparently it's on another dimensional plane, because it wasn't snowing. That, I love the whole Copperhead scene, because, like, the whole house is broken, and she's like, oh, the dog came in and ran around.
Her delivery is perfect. The dog broke in here and acted a fool, or something like that. Like, the way she put it, I really enjoyed.
One thing that irritated me, and I know, of course, movie, but Sophie would have bled out by the time, especially when you're garden hosing your blood out.
Oh, I just want to comment again on similarities. That Oren fight specifically is very Lady Snowblood in a couple ways. Obviously, you got Oren in kind of a white outfit. Not exactly the same. Feels like there's more like maybe flowery stuff or details on hers. But a white outfit, snow, swords, blood, and, very reminiscent of that. But also the fact that little courtyard seems to exist in its own plane of existence. It's its own reality. It feels like a set, and there's like no attempt to not make it feel like a set, because there's the building over there, but if you look at the sky, guess what? It's just black. It's very much like that one set, only, it's more squared, so it's squared off. It's not as obvious, but it's just like that one set I commented on during our Lady Snowblood talk. It's not like meant to look like this is outside or sky. It's just black. It's like a stage. It's obviously a set, and it's supposed to look that way. Jasper.
Yes.
Our rating system is not going to get all wacky like it did last time.
Damn it. I was about to make a joke too.
Nobody commented on... I did take the time.
I did. I said it was amazing.
You did, but I had to send it to you.
I actually screenshotted and sent it to my mother.
Did you? Mm-hmm. Listener, if you haven't checked out, go to the website. Go to grawlixpodcast.com and check out our last episode. I did it. Okay, the thing I wouldn't do. I'm not going to alter the star ratings, blah, blah, blah. I went crazy with it. Anyway, so Jasper, not to give spoilers on yours, but you just sent me a message. I have a feeling as soon as you finished Kill Bill, and you just wrote Kill Bill, 6 out of 5.
Yes, I said Kill Bill ... 6 stars.
So, Jasper, what's your rating?
5.
5 stars.
Yeah,
okay.
You can't go outside we got it. We have rules that must be followed. 5 out of 5. Loved just the whole feeling of this movie. I loved the action. Like I said, they didn't go over the top. Other than Garden Hose Blood, but we love it. But I love the story. I love how calm she is, but she's been through a whole crap ton. I love at the end where he says, does she know that her daughter's still alive? Like, this whole time you're thinking, is her daughter still alive? But 5 out of 5 for me.
Oh, Michael Parks also. The sheriff this was first, but he was in Death Proof. Did you catch that?
Yeah, because he says son number 1 again.
Uh-huh.
I was like,
Yep.
I know that.
It's the same character.
This was before Death Proof, right?
Yeah, this was
Okay.
before Death Proof. And yet Death Proof Tarantino doesn't claim that one. Anyway, so I give this 4 stars out of 5. I think it's awesome.
I gotta hear this.
I think it's what?
I gotta hear this.
Oh, you didn't go 5 stars. Yeah, I'm just going to give this 4. I think it's really well made. I think it's highly entertaining. It's very fun. Again, rewatching it, it really struck me how it's so Tarantino, but at the same time, he's doing a lot of things that I hadn't seen in other Tarantino stuff, showcasing other abilities and skills as a director, I think.
Yeah.
And if I could be wrong, but there's no Tarantino, so that's a plus. But there's something about it still. I think it's a little bit like Uma's delivery of some of the lines doesn't work, and it's not her acting. It's just it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me in some way. I like Uma. I like her as the character, like in this movie. It just doesn't feel right to me. There's something about it that's off. It's not my favorite Tarantino. I like it a lot. Again, 4 stars is a super high rating, but it does feel much more surface level than some of his other stuff. In that it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot going on beneath it. It's what you get. It's what it is. It's what you get. It's a revenge movie with Uma Thurman being awesome, running around, killing people. And not to say there's not more to it, but I don't think there's as much below the surface of like the writing as some of his other movies, if that makes sense, in terms of characters and stuff. The characters are, by kind of nature of the genre, much more flat. They're pretty much just, whatever. They're bad guys. And
Also said the guys like the one with the slick back hair and the masquerade mask. I thought those guys looked straight like 4 characters out of Final Fantasy.
oh, really?
Like the one with the slick back hair and
They're very much a throwback to like, I want to say like Green Hornet or something. That means nothing to you. It's fine. It's fine. It doesn't need to mean anything to you.
I'm just thinking Seth Rogen Green Hornet.
Also, her yellow outfit is completely a throwback to Bruce Lee's
that I
famous
got.
yellow outfit. I like how they did it. I think it was smart to like his jumper, but they went leather motorcycle, had the motorcycle helmet there. It's like obviously the same, but not like she's cosplaying as Bruce Lee. Like they tweaked just enough to be like, okay, I get it. It's like an homage, but it's not a cosplay. And maybe that's a good like description of what Tarantino does as a filmmaker.